Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be doing a first impressions on the bunch of new content that has been released / announced in Japan. So, first things first, I want to highlight that may not be on the screen is that at the end of October for Japan, all of the coin dungeons and all of the challenge modes will be permanently disappearing. Now, that is a bit of a concern because that means if you have not cleared either the coin dungeon or the challenge modes, which is the Tri-Monster Challenge, basically you get the leader and 2 subs, you will be missing out on that free magic stone. So this is actually one perk or benefit of being delayed behind Japan is when these kind of major things occur, we have more time to actually plan and prepare. So we have about 2 to 3 months plus basically the entire month. Because at the end of October this gets removed. So we have maybe like 3 to 4 months before this actually takes effect in North America. So start clearing those coin dungeons, start clearing those challenge modes, do a little bit every day, and you will hopefully gain enough magic stones over time because we are kind of experiencing a bit of a drought. We haven't really had much in the way of magic stone logins for the past while, which can be a little frustrating. But other than that, I'm going to be talking about the other news. So in version 15.3 for Japan, there will be new compatibility issues. So if you're iOS, you need version 10.0 or higher. So my old iPad is now never going to work, unfortunately. Android version 4.4, and then no changes to Kindle Fire. And then I'm going to be talking about the new buffs and alts in a moment. I'm jumping there afterwards. More maximum box space. Probably not too much of a concern for the average player. I gained probably 1,000 box space with the Plus Bank and the Evo and enhancement, Evo and Tamadra material stacking. And then this is going to be a big important aspect for your gemstone princesses because super skill boost and super time extends were not actually counted beforehand, but now they'll be counted as 2. So this perhaps has a lot of merit on your Beach, Barber, and Julie teams because both leaders have super skill boost, which means they don't have regular skill boost. And depending on the types of subs you're running, you might actually have very few skill boosts. So your Carrot Gemstone Burst may be quite lackluster. When this buff does come through, we would actually be having an additional 1.2 times damage on your Carrot for your Beach, Barber, and Julie teams. Something to keep in mind. Ranking dungeons now have these extra clear style bonus points. So basically every ranking dungeon will have a different score breakdown, but the idea is if you match certain patterns like TPA, fall of attack, rows, triggering guard break, those sort of things will give you extra points. Now, this is kind of cool and all, but the thing is the points have to be large enough to justify either the additional time you spent in matching, or justify the additional time, for instance, for guard break, the animation time by actually bringing enough cards for that rainbow activation, because each attacking animation does drain approximately, like, say, 0.2 seconds of your time. So that translates to about 100 points. So unless guard break is giving you more than enough points to justify having all those extra pings, it may not necessarily be worthwhile. But again, this is probably something they just started rolling out. Maybe it'll change in the future. Maybe they will help overvalue certain patterns to kind of encourage players to do it. Now, one thing I want to stress is that if you match 1 TPA, you get the points there. You match 2 TPAs, you get 2 points. Having multiple TPA awakenings does not give you bonus points because then you'd stack something like Sheet and match 1 TPA and you'd be like crazy. No, it does not work that way. But it can be an interesting thing, but it also can add a certain element of RNG, especially for certain dungeons where, like, you have no choice. Like, if you have a bad board, you don't get guard break, and guard break ends up being worth a lot of points, you're going to have a bad day. And then there will be a ability to link your account to Facebook. You get 10 magic stones. We'll get something like that. I believe it'll just help with account recovery, so that is a nice thing. Next are the new buffs. So I already talked about, like, these cards here, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to start talking about the Egyptian 2 series. So the Egyptian 2 Pantheon is receiving all of their Awoken evolutions. So Awoken evolutions are not as strong as Reincarnated because they still have lowish weighted stats, as evident by Set here. So by comparison, like, Set can almost feel like Enra Light because both of them have 777 combo, but Enra is bind immune. Yes, Set does have 1 time extend and 1 skill boost, but the lack of skill bind resist may be problematic. But the thing is, Set has significantly lower weighted stats, and Enra also gets super awakening, which means limit breaking. Because by comparison, Set has about 1100 less health, like 10 or 20 less attack, and 200 less recovery. But then Enra also gets limit break stats, so she'll go even higher compared to Set. So it's going to be a little challenging to justify using Set over Enra. But for players who don't have an Enra, don't have any other triple 7 combo awakening card, this can be meaningful because, well, it's a 5-star Pantheon card, so in theory should be reasonably easy to roll. In terms of his active skill, he's got basically changing heal and hazard orbs into fire, and then 2 times attack for fire for 1 turn. So possibly more valuable than Enra, but then again, Enra might overflow the board, but Enra also can make hearts from hazards. Either way, Enra is rarely used for her base active skill. It's usually inherit something over top of her and use the inherit. Now, Set has the leader skill of 1.5 times stats to fire cards, and then 3 times attack when HP is full, and then 4 times on 4+ attributes. So you actually have a very high attack multiplier if you are full health. But this is problematic because Set has no built-in healing active skills, so if you're not full health, you're going to be dealing virtually no damage. Like, you're going to be doing 36 times damage, which is nothing. So these full health clause multiplier leaders have to really compete against Zeus Verse. And Zeus Verse is unconditional in the sense that you just need to have full health and bam, 225 times damage for everyone. So Set's not necessarily going to replace Zeus Verse. Having a higher damage multiplier in total is not going to mean much when you can't maintain that health, as well as having to have all attributes. It's just going to be a problematic thing to juggle, so I don't foresee Set making an impact as a leader whatsoever. Next is Awoken Nut. And Awoken Nut active skill has been changed. You remove locked orbs and change the left column to water, increase movement or movement time by 1 turn. So it is an upgrade. It's a short 5-turn charging orb unlocker, so that can provide merit. Like, let's say you are relying on Diao Chan for orb unlocking, but you never rolled Diao Chan. Awoken Nut can be a viable alternative as an inherit or even as a base, depending on the dungeon at hand, because, well, 5 turns is not terribly hard to charge up, at least by comparison, as well as being able to easily inherit over top of something else. In terms of her leader skill, it's basically the exact same as Set, except it's combo instead of rainbow based. So combo is usually a little easier to achieve. Well, it's a lot easier to achieve by comparison. But again, being full health is just going to be a killer. You're just not going to have a good time. She's also vulnerable to binds like Set. In terms of her awakenings, she has 3 of these plus 80% damage awakening. So when you're above 80%, you get 1.5 times, and that stacks, so it goes 2.25 times, 3 point something. Math is hard, but the point of the matter is she does have meaningful amounts of damage, possibly as a sub. So remember, if you are needing Nut as a sub for whatever reason for that orb unlocking, it can provide reasonably high damage when you also factor in those double TPAs. So it can have some value for that orb unlocking and potentially high damage when you're above 80% matching those TPAs. Just something nice to think about. Awoken Osiris. So Awoken Osiris' active skill is remove locks, change the right to wood, increase orb movement time by 1 turn. Basically like Nut, except it's right instead of left. Now, I'm a little surprised at the release dates of these cards. So Dark Metatron came out in Japan first. It should be in North America by now, but it's my strong speculation that Gung-Ho is withholding Dark Metatron, so everyone just goes nuts getting Beach Barber and Julie, who is still very powerful, of course, but there's waiting to release her so that everyone's lost all their Godfest exclusive fodder or magic stones or whatever it may be. But the point of the matter is Dark Metatron is incredibly powerful, but she is a leader that relies on being below 80% health for dealing her maximum amount of damage. Now, Osiris is like that, but worse. So I was thinking that maybe they should have released Osiris first so players get a taste and kind of get warmed up for it, because he's still not a terribly bad card overall. You have 1.5 times stats for wood, so you have 2.25 times health and recovery, which is still pretty reasonable. You have 3 times attack when below 80%, and then 4 times attack when 6+ combos. So you have 18 times damage with 1 Osiris, so I can't do math, but that's actually higher multiplier than Dark Metatron, so that's quite reasonable. Yes, you don't have the shield, yes, you don't have the extra health pool, but you have the recovery. This is a 5-star Pantheon card, so this is a pretty reasonable card for the most part, and his restriction is you have to use wood types instead of god types, so things open up, things change. You get access to Odin Dragon, Ragnarok Dragon, a pretty powerful card overall, and their awakenings are synergistic with that. When below 50% health, he gains high personal damage, so this is actually a pretty reasonable card, but it's just going to feel like Dark Metatron Light. And the problem is because he's released after Dark Metatron, by the time we get Osiris, if we had Dark Metatron, we're going to be like, well, why would we want to use Osiris as opposed to Dark Metatron? So if they had swapped the release order dates, Osiris probably could have made a bigger splash, because he is pretty exciting in my opinion. Awoken Hathor has been changed significantly. She's no longer a 25% gravity. She is now a 10% true gravity, if I'm not mistaken. And then changing heal, jammer, and poison to light. So it can accomplish several different things, but the gravity being only 10% can be a little problematic. I guess in theory, if you do use two Zeus and Hera's, which is 45. Well, no, sorry, it doesn't work that way. Never mind. Because true damage versus gravity. So like you could use, it's going to be hard to really capitalize on 10%. I'm just trying to think of combinations that are going to chunk a boss down that makes it feasible, but I don't really think of a mathematical scenario where you can. Maybe I could be wrong though, but it's kind of awkward. And then all her awakenings are L unlocks. So L's are really awkward awakenings for the most part, so I don't foresee her being used. Like her double 7 combo has some merit on occasional usages, so I don't really foresee Awoken Hathor making much of a splash. Next is Awoken Nephthys, and she has 1.5 times attack for dark for 1 turn. Change the bottom row to dark. So not a bad thing overall. If you're using her as an inherit, let's say, for dark row farming, boom. Row, boom, bonus damage. Not a bad card for that overall. Leader skill is 1.5 times stats for dark, so that's 2.25 times health and recovery. 3 times attack when health is 100%, so that's a problem right there. And then 3 times when 3 plus attributes. So being 100% health, we've already established, is not a good thing. So it's just, you have any viability as a sub? Not so much, unless you are banking on the combo orb awakening. So the combo orb awakening occurs when you match, I believe it is exactly 12 connected orbs of that color, like dark or wood, and then you get this enhanced combo orb to drop down. So when you match that enhanced combo orb, you get +1 combo count. So for row farming teams, this may not be a terrible thing. Let's say you need to overcome a certain combo shield. You might be able to do some interesting things. Now hear me out. So Nephthys is your sub. You match those orbs and you get the enhanced combo orb to drop down. On the next floor, there is an 8 combo shield, let's say. Well, 8 combos is quite a large amount for a row-based team to overcome, or whatever blob, whatever it may be. But the point is, what you can do is you could use a full board changer of 1 color. Let's say it's dark, for instance, and then use a double row orb maker to give you 12 orbs, 6 at the top, 6 at the bottom. You can rearrange that into 7 combos, which is fine. You also get the VDP, which can be important. But then here's where the exciting part happens. When you match that enhanced combo orb, because it's going to be matched in that pattern somewhere, your 7 becomes 8. So if you're using a leader that can capitalize upon 8 combos, this can be meaningful as a way to overcome a high combo shield. Could be situational, could be niche, but hey, it's something new that we didn't have before. So that is kind of exciting. And then lastly is Cthuga. So Cthugha is a 5-star former Godfest exclusive, and he gained a split evolution. And his split evolution is actually quite powerful. He didn't gain weapon assist, but again, split evolution is still meaningful. So his leader form gives you 5 times attack when HP is above 50%, 2.5 times attack when below 50, 3 times attack and slight damage reduction when 7+ combos are matched. So basically, you hit 7 combos, you probably get 43.75% damage reduction. 3 times 5 is 15. I know 15 squared is 225 times. So 225 times is not bad when above 50% health. It's pretty reasonable. Like, it's not a bad leader skill overall. Like, it's a 5-star former Godfest exclusive. We can't hope too highly from him. But it's his sub-split evolution that gets a lot of people quite excited. And this is because, well, the leader skill is obviously weaker, but it's the awakenings. He has now double co-op boost, follow-up attack, and 10 combo awakenings. So he has very high personal weighted stats. He has 2.25 times additional weighted stats when using co-op mode, which makes him a very strong base button active card. Yes, he does have a 13-turn cooldown, but if you inherit something reasonably fast casting over top of him, you're going to have a very large amount of meaningful damage pumping out from him as a base, as well as having follow-up attack and the 10 combo awakening if that's even relevant. But I know some of my friends who do play in Japan are quite happy with this split card because it's a large amount of weighted stats and a great button-based inherit. So, other than that, Halloween Cali gets buffed. They're going to probably be announcing the Halloween cards somewhat soonish in Japan. So if you haven't rolled Beach, maybe you can wait just a little bit longer just to see what Halloween has in store. Maybe Halloween will have a new game-breaking card. We don't know. Like, there's always the chance that something like that can happen. So let me know what you think about all these new buffs, cards, and evolutions in the comments below. Don't forget to start clearing your challenge modes as well as coin dungeons because they will disappear in probably 3 to 4 months time frame. hopefully all the Mantastic day. I wish you all the best of luck in your own bad adventures, and happy puzzling.